Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. In this video I'm going to talk about my new war game that I've been working on. It's called The Road Chosen. It is a solitaire narrative driven war game and it's a print and play game. It will be launching on Kickstarter very soon. I have a whole bunch of other videos on my channel which describes all the key mechanics of the game, but in this video I just want to give you sort of a good overview of the game and what you get. So here you can see the game laid out. I've printed out the game, I've mounted it to some card. The game comes complete with 3 maps. This is one map. You can either print the map out in one large sheet as I have done here, or you can print it out in different sections. There's not a huge amount to print out and make to start playing. You just need to print out one of the maps and a handful of the counters. As you can see in this example, and this game is sort of already underway, I would say. Each scenario will tell you what your forces are. So in this example, you're playing as the Allies. There are other scenarios where you're playing either the British or the American troops or the Germans as well. So you can choose which side you would like to play depending on which scenario you pick. In this example, the aim of the scenario is you start on the left-hand side of the board and you work your way across to the end goal at the far end of the board. As you move your troops and your tanks and armoured fighting vehicles from into new zones, every time you go into a new zone, you'll roll on a couple of charts to determine what happens in that zone. There are a whole bunch of random events that can happen. Some of them will help you, some of them will hinder you, and you'll be determining if there are enemy troops or tanks or vehicles in that zone as well. The heart of the game is a command point structure, and you keep track of your command points using this chart here. You use command points to move, you use command points to do different types of attacks, you use command points to bring in artillery strikes, you use command points in a whole different variety of means. So for example, you can recon a new area before you move into it, but you have to use your command points. During the game, depending on the scenario, every turn you're going to be rolling for command points. You will need to provide yourself with a couple of regular D6 dice. Invariably, you will find that you will not have enough command points to do all the actions that you could possibly want to do. And this is really the heart of the decision-making aspect of the game. It's not an on-rails narrative game. The key thing is that everything costs command points, and you have to make some hard choices, some difficult choices based on the information you know and based on the information you don't know. So those sort of random events as you go into new zones. In addition to that, when you take control of a zone, you put one of these little control markers on, but occasionally the enemy will take those zones back. So you're having to, whilst moving across the board, occasionally you will have to backtrack or send reinforcements in to counter the enemy in the game. In terms of the counters, in this example, like I said, you're playing as the Allies. There's a whole bunch of different counters. You've got infantry counters, which are these square counters here, and you have AFV counters, which are sort of rectangular counters. Invariably, these will have tanks or tank destroyer or self-propelled guns. Currently, for the Allies, we've got infantry, we've got anti-tank infantry. We've got tanks like the Sherman with a variety of different guns, from the basic Sherman up to the Firefly. For the German counters, again, infantry, mortar teams, MG42 teams. We've got Panthers, Stugs, some Tigers, Jagd Panthers, Panzer IVs, Jagd Panzer IVs, Stugs, and more to follow. So hopefully that gives you sort of a broad overview of the game. It doesn't take a huge amount of time to play the game. Some of the simpler missions you'll be able to play in half an hour. Some of the more in-depth, longer missions will take a bit longer. You can either play the scenarios on their own, or there is a campaign that links various scenarios together, and you keep record and track of the progress of your troops as they partake through that campaign. That's probably the main points that I want to cover in this video. There are another series of videos that I've done that detail or go into more detail for all the specific mechanics, So for example, what the counters or the numbers on the counters mean, how combat works, etc. So check those out as well. But this is just a broad overview. The game will be launching on Kickstarter. I'm just waiting for their approval on the Kickstarter page. Once they've done that, the Kickstarter will go live. It'll either be back end of this week or early next week, but I'll let everyone know when the Kickstarter is live. And there are a bunch of stretch goals for the game, so more different types of counters and so forth. As I said, this is just one map. There will be 3 maps. I'm about halfway through the second map, and they're all exactly the same size. So I hope that was interesting, and thanks for watching as ever.